Tell me about you. Tell me about where you're at in your journey and all that good stuff.
Yeah, so I just graduated in May, which I'm sure I saw that you've talked to a few 2020 graduates, and it's definitely a weird time to finish school. For a while, I, applied to any job position that said designer and ended up creating like a spreadsheet because I was losing track of how many I was applying to.
Yep, been there. Yeah.
Yeah, like, I hit 120 applications and then, had one interview out of all of those and then like 7 denials and the rest were just up in the air. So I'm currently freelancing right now. I have 2 freelance gigs, which at a minimum is keeping me going,
Yeah.
Motivating me. But that's where I'm at. I'm still looking for that, full-time job opportunity. The market is weird. There's a lot of graduates, so competition's tough. I also realize that I'm 22 and I don't know what I don't know. And so, it's that balance of me being like, this is what I want. I know that this is the way I want to go versus, something comes my way that isn't what I thought of. Why not try it? When else am I going to? You're 20, you're meant for this, I think. So.
And I think you're in a really real prime spot, believe it or not, and that this is the experimentation phase. This is where you take a little, taste test a little bit, try things out. And it might be that the first offer you get, you take, and it's not necessarily exactly what you thought it would be. And a lot of people get into the industry that way. I mean, I know that, a good friend of mine started off on the studio side. So he wasn't doing more of the creative, he was doing more of the production aspect of it. And then it turned into the creative. Hell, my wife started off on the account side. She worked her ass off for 8 months. And within 8 months, she had a portfolio put together and she got a job. And now she's crushing it so much at her job. And it's amazing to see. And I think you're doing all the right things too. I think networking, I hate it when people were like, it's who you know. I hated it so much. I was like, I don't know anybody. I think LinkedIn is a very underutilized and underrated tool. When I first got into the industry, I didn't think LinkedIn was anything more than a place to send people to look at my resume. But actually, it's a pretty great tool. When you're at a certain part in your career, you take what's available if there's not that much available and you make the best out of it. And you can always shift later. I think people get so bogged down of should I accept this place? I don't know if I want to be there for 5 years. You don't have to be. If you don't like it, you can bounce somewhere else. And so I think that's an important thing to think about is you take the opportunities that you're given. And I think the 2 freelance jobs that you're doing are great. And then even when you wrap those up, asking those clients, hey, do you know anyone else? And and keeping that freelance game open, I think is very important. And you just do the best you can with those assignments that you're given, and your time will come. And I think you're doing all the right things just by reaching out to people, because people are such an asset. The more people you reach out to, the more people that weirdly invest in you getting a position, in you getting a job.
My friend only did that. She didn't even apply to jobs. She just reached out to the alumni network and she got offered a job. She didn't even apply to it. And they were just like, do you want to work? So I've been taking that approach. This has been my most burning question that I've been asking everyone I can so far. It goes back to that whole, I know it's the beggars can't be choosers mentality, but also feeling like I should have a say in my own career,
Yep.
For example, like I said, my grandparents are prominent in architecture and construction in Dallas. They connected me to a bunch of connections in that, in the AEC industry. I've gotten to a few different interview stages with a construction firm. I'm thinking, okay, I'm at the point where I'm feeling the pressure of we're in a pandemic. Who knows when the economy is going to come back up, et cetera, et cetera. There's part of me that's take the first job that comes your way. Beggars can't be choosers. But the other part of me has this quarreling and battling with the idea of nothing there is even inherently creative. I'm going to be doing, PowerPoints and project proposals. So then I'm wondering, does it even really build my resume or my experience? It builds my client experience, it builds my work experience technically. But to me, it's whole left field. Like, it's not even close to the wheelhouse I was looking at. I'm going between, like, you know, my family who aren't creatives, they're all in software engineering. They're like, you know, it's always easier to get a job once you get a job, and it's always who you know, and it's always good to build connections no matter what the industry is, etc. But I want to hear like a creative's input on that.
Yep.
Because to me, I'm not sure if it actually weighs that way.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, there is a point to whatever job that you get, you will get some value out of it, and you will learn something from it. But I also am fully in the camp of do what feels right to you. And if you believe that you want to do this creative thing, and you can, let me preface with, and you can afford to do so, because, you know, like it's a different ball game when like you're, you know, living on Totino's pizza rolls and like you're just like barely making rent. Like then you're like, okay, I need to take something to at least get myself into a financial spot to be a little picky and make decisions. But if you are feeling like, okay, I have a few months that, you know, that you can make it happen, then you go after what you want. I mean, yes, the economy is crazy, but I fully believe that there's jobs out there. How can you continue to put yourself in a spot to succeed with those jobs? So you have that list, for instance. And so I had a similar list. My Excel doc had like a list of companies, my priority. It had like, okay, I've emailed this person. There's no opening here, but I emailed this person, all that stuff.
Follow-up column.
Yeah, follow-up column for sure. And so what it comes down to at that point, what have you not done yet to the people on those lists? You might have to get a little crafty. You might have to get a little bit annoying. But I think that reaching out relatively often and in different ways that don't seem cookie cutter is very important. And I think it's one thing to send out an email that is a replica, because I did this too, where I sent relatively the same email to everybody, but like changed like a sentence in it. It always sounded really prim and proper. I think like a down and dirty email that is honest from the heart from you about their company and the things that you admire about it and stuff like that goes a long way and differentiates you amongst a lot of other people that are doing the same kind of thing. And on top of that, I think it is you looking at companies and telling them where, I mean, not telling them where you think they're weak, but looking for their weaknesses and then positioning yourself as, hey, this is a strength of mine that I think I can bring value to the company. In the meantime, if you can afford it, I think it is just every day is waking up and breathing creative. And whether that's you doing a fun new project and posting it on LinkedIn, have had some downtime because of quarantine, but still job searching. So like, you know what I mean? Just seeing what kind of responses you can get. Look, you know your portfolio and your book. I only looked at it briefly because I've just been Slam City. But like, you have a good design sense. You got to believe in your craft and what you're doing. And even if family members are like, hey, good job, like this is your life. And it's not that you disrespect a family for disagreeing with them, but it's like you have the reins to your career and where you want to go. And as long as you can financially afford it at the time, you got to give yourself that opportunity or else you'll regret it.
My portfolio, it's not an ad portfolio by any means. It's definitely a creative portfolio. But in your opinion, if I'm applying to ad agencies, like, would you give me as a potential hire the benefit of the doubt and look for little nuggets that were like, that seemed like potential? Or are you looking for someone who, when you open their website, it's all ads, and if it's not, you click out?
Design aesthetic is very important. What I will say is the reason you might not get some callback from agencies is because recruiters and creative directors do look for the big idea. The big idea is just as important as the design aesthetic. I would say it's a 50-50 split. I want you to make something pretty, but I also want it to be strategically smart and makes me think about something in a new way. So my recommendation to you would be to do a spec campaign on your own. Creating a campaign that's a 360-degree campaign that has multiple print ads that all live under the same umbrella, that have a guerrilla marketing tactic, that have a social execution, to show that you can take an idea that solves a client's problem and you can make a whole campaign around it. I think that is still a skill that is very important when trying to gain that position. And I think you're in a great spot and have a good mindset that you will get there.
Right.
It's just in which way you do it. There's no wrong or right way to do it. You just do it. My best advice I can give you is just keep working hard, keep making shit, and keep pushing yourself, and it'll happen. And then my last bit of advice is to keep being diligent, keep making connections, but also don't be afraid to bother recruiters. Be real with them. Be like, hey, I know it's a crazy time. You're getting a zillion of these emails. Like, I get it. Would love for you to take a look at my book, if not to hire me, but to give me some advice on how to improve and get better. I'm always trying to learn. I'm always trying to put my best foot forward. That kind of take on it is different because everyone else is saying, I'm looking for a graphic design position or an art direction position at your agency because I'm great at illustration and photography, and I think I could be a great asset to your team. Don't be that email. Be the empathetic email, understand the situation and how to adjust accordingly. Be in the conversation of what's going on with the greater picture of the industry and show that you understand it and you're willing to adjust and, you know, make it happen.
When I watched a video on your YouTube, you had said, which would have been one of my questions, but it was already answered, was the line between professionalism and personability. And, you know, again, asking, you know, people like my family, they're going to say professionalism is best. Yep. They're not creatives. It was a relief to hear that that was your opinion too, because that's where I've been thinking is I'm like, I should just, I would want to feel like I was talking to a person. So that's what I'm going to strive for.
Authenticity always wins. Like, I'm much more apt to help somebody who's being real and honest. Like, I love the people who are like, hey, I think I'm really lacking in this thing. Like, what's your thoughts on this? Like, I love that shit because I'm like, let's dig deeper into that rather than someone being like, hey, I think you'd really love my portfolio. Because honestly, and these words came from me when in my first cover letter ever, and then I heard them from somebody and was like, ugh. And I was like, oh shit, wait. I said that, which was, check out my portfolio, you won't regret it. But if you are just real and honest and raw, that's why in an interview, there's always that question like, what's your biggest weakness? And someone's like, oh, I'm just too organized. I work too hard. Like, those people never get the job. The people that get the job are like, okay, like if I were going to interview right now, I would say, honestly, I'm lacking in 3D. I'm trying to make strides to get better at Maya and other 3D programs, but at the moment, I'm not super confident in it. So though I can get around it by kind of messing around in Photoshop, which I feel much more confident in, I don't think I could do the same thing currently in Maya. I hope you're not discouraged after sending out a bunch of applications and not hearing things back. Just keep going. You know what I mean? And every day you find a new thing to be positive about and to be like, okay, like what's next on the plate? What's a new cool thing I can do? How am I increasing my chances every day?
Right. That makes sense. And I mean, seriously, this call has been more than helpful. I can't even explain it. If nothing else, I feel more motivated than I have the past 6 months. So
sick. Well, that's what I like.
Really awesome. I feel more confident moving forward because it's definitely a weird time.
But yeah, keep going. Let me know if you need anything else.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, not a problem at all. Reach out if you need anything, okay?
I will. Thanks so much.
All right, later, Abby.
Bye. Good to see you.